Hey folks, welcome back. My name is Gulveg, and today we're going to be talking about the strawberry full moon, June 3rd, 4th, depending on where in the world you are at, 2023. And it is a doozy. So what we're going to do today is we're going to take a look and see what the stars say above. We're going to talk a little bit about the transits and the alignments that are happening around this full moon. And then we're going to take a look below with the tarot to see how we best can leverage and utilize this very potent energy for our best and highest good. So first things first, the full moon is in Sagittarius. It's at 13 degrees, and it is in opposition to the sun, which is in Gemini at 13 degrees. So the numerology of this alignment is kind of interesting because it is equals 4. 1 plus 3 is 4. But it's a combination of the sovereign self, number 1, and the number 3. That personally, I look at the number 3 as being is like alchemy. So it's combining the opposites to create something completely brand new. So we have, you know, the sacred trinity, the mother, father, and then the child. So we have and when we take a look at some of the other alignments here, that's not just a coincidence. We have such a potent opportunity here to get a new perspective, to draw down some inspiration to create new tangible plans for our future. So without further ado, some of those alignments are Jupiter is conjuncting the North Node on June 1st. So just a couple of days before this, Jupiter is a very slow-moving planet. It goes through each one of the signs approximately every year. And the moon, if you just want to compare, the moon takes only like 2.5 days to go through each sign. So it moves quite slowly. And the North Node is a place in the stars that is associated with our soul's purpose. So whatever it is that your North Node is in your birth chart, that is the kind of energy that your soul is moving towards. It's wanting to learn it's wanting to learn lessons of that sign. So for example, if you have a North Node in Leo, your North Node is inviting your soul to learn how to be seen in a bigger way, to how to be expressed. Leo is a very expressive sign, so the qualities of Leo is something that the soul is learning. In this particular case, though, we're talking about the collective. So the North Node is representing the energy that the collective is moving towards. And both Jupiter and the North Node are in Taurus. Also in Taurus, we have Mercury and Uranus that are also in conjunction. So Mercury is about communication, Uranus is about change. And then also too, what's very interesting, we're going to talk a little bit more about this just in a second, but June 7th, so just a few days after this full moon, we are going to have the moon and Pluto are going to be conjuncting at 0 degrees in Aquarius, which is also ushering in change. So change is in the air, change is imminent. We said that in the new moon reading, and quite frankly, this is going to be a theme that's going to be probably repeated for the next at least 12 months, 18 months. So there's going to be lots of changes that are going to happen, and this particular full moon is a really excellent time to start preparing and start deciding what kind of changes you would like to invite into your life. Because if change is going to happen regardless, we might as well leverage it and try to set our sails so that when the wind of change comes, we can go towards the shores that we would prefer to go to versus potentially being seasick. So that's really what this full moon is about. This full moon is about setting your sails so that the winds of change can take you where you want to go. So a little bit more about how to do this. So Mercury and Uranus conjunction, this is going to heighten our mental clarity, insight. Would not be surprised if some of us had some aha moments in this coming week. And in fact, I would have a journal at your disposal, or at the very least, maybe do some voice memo recording on your phone. Anytime that you have an idea, because there might be ideas that just pop in your head this week. And in fact, that's what this is really about. It's more about gathering resources, gathering ideas, communicating with people about the different possibilities. It's about exploration. Now, as we move into the next month, by the next full moon, next month in July, we will start getting some more clarity on what ideas really are worth our time and energy and resources, and which ones to just kind of trim off. And by next month, we will also have maybe a little bit more clarity on what kind of organization and systems need to be put in place in order for these ideas that we do want to nurture to grow and to be sustainable. So, but right now, it's about ideas and it's about exploration. Sagittarius is a very it's associated with the planet Jupiter, and Jupiter expands anything it touches. So this North Node in Taurus, aligned with Jupiter, that is also that Mercury and Uranus is also in Taurus, is still speaking to the themes that have come up in the last two readings around practical, tangible change. Taurus is about beauty, it's about wealth, it's somewhat associated with luck because of its association with Venus. And it's also about the home, it's about the hearth, it's about our family. So it's tangible, practical changes. So the changes that are coming our way are going to be things that are going to change our everyday like mundane life, home, travel, close family, jobs, how we create our livelihood, that type of thing. So as you can see, it's really important that we decide on what the essence is of what it is that we want. And this full moon is really good about distilling the essence of what it is that we really want. If we get too fixated at this point as to what's going to happen, and we start getting rigid with our perspective and what it's like, okay, I've decided this is how it's going to happen, and we're not flexible, that might set us up for being seasick. So set your sails, and if you need to adjust course, relax with that, because there's a very good chance that many of us are going to need to make adjustments along the way, as after we decide what it is that we want, we're going to have to make some adjustments because of life. Like that's what happens, right? Like, you know, you make plans and then, you know, life is going to do what it's going to do. So being flexible is going to really be helpful in acclimating to this energy. Also, Venus trines Neptune. This also is going to heighten our intuition. It's going to heighten our creativity. So it's actually a really lovely complement to what's happening in all of this Taurus energy with Jupiter and the North Node and Mercury and Uranus. Like, we have Mercury and Uranus creates more clarity. We also have, of course, the Sun that's in Gemini. So there's a lot of energy around communication, and the best way to communicate right now is not with definitive demands and agendas and this is what we need to do. It's more about playful communication. So keep it light. Keep it as light as possible. It's hard to keep things light when the things that we are thinking about and trying to plan for and trying to create affect our tangible life, because it's really easy to get rigid when we're talking about livelihood, when we're talking about money. If any of your plans have to do with that, probably most of us, money's going to be a factor with on all of that. It's really easy to get rigid and to put our blinders on so that we get tunnel vision. If we get tunnel vision, then we're going to end up limiting ourselves in ways that aren't really helpful. Eventually, we're going to have healthy limitations where we make decisions, but even then, this energy is saying, keep those decisions with a light heart. So set your sails, but go with the flow. I know it seems like kind of like a contradiction. Also, something that was very interesting as I was looking at this is that one thing that might be helpful is to align as best you can with beauty and joy, and allowing joy to be your compass for this journey, because Taurus is associated with Venus, and Venus is the planet, first and foremost, of beauty. And so whatever it is that you can, like, whatever kind of beauty that you can truly not just appreciate, but soak in. For some people, beauty might be they might really be able to viscerally feel beauty when they cook or garden or are playing with animals or are around children or out in nature, or perhaps some pampering, some spa day or self-care, something of that nature. Whatever it is that allows you to just sink into that, lean into that. Take some time for beauty. So, and then Sagittarius, which the moon is in, is associated with joy. Beauty is a doorway that is very useful for connecting us with joy. It's really hard not to be joyful if you're soaking in the sumptuousness of something that you just really love, whether or not it's a piece of chocolate cake that you're just devouring and it's about the senses, or you are having a beautiful walk underneath a wonderful sunset. Whatever it is, when we soak in beauty, joy is often a byproduct of that. And joy is not the same thing as distraction. Joy fills us up. Distraction might allow us to have like a break from stress, and sometimes distraction is necessary, but what I'm speaking to is the type of experiences that really allow you to feel not just happy, but in the moment, and just really soaking it all in. And if you've ever had one of those moments, you probably know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't had one of those moments, reach out to someone who has, because it's life-changing. It's life-changing. The other thing too is witness our assumptions on what we think is possible. So remember, this is about exploration. The alignments that are happening in the sign of Taurus right now are giving us an opportunity to think broader, to think bigger, and to step outside of the parameters of any kind of self-imposed boxes that we may have put ourselves in, whether or not we did that consciously or not. Sometimes those boxes might be helpful within a short period of time, within a specific context, but this Sagittarius full moon is saying, now it's time to peek outside of the box and just kind of see what's out there. You don't have to go, go exploring unless you want to, but just take a peek. Take a peek and just ask yourself, what if? So this is a really good time to analyze what's going on in your life and to take note of what is working, what is helpful, what is supporting you, and what is not. And then decide, for whatever it is that isn't working, what the alternative would be, and just ask what if. So I wanted to get into on the June 7th thing just real quick before we get into the tarot. When Pluto and the moon conjunct at 0 degrees in Aquarius, this is going to be a time, a day where we might be experiencing a lot of changes and a lot of shift. So what I can see would be very possible is that there's a combination of this full moon energy that is ushering in new ideas, new growth, new possibilities, and it's like really big energy. In fact, for some of us, it might even feel like intimidating. And make sure that we try not to get caught up in all of the details right now, because the details are going to be worked out, especially over the next probably 4 to 8 weeks. The details on those big ideas are going to be worked out. Pluto is a planet of death and rebirth. So it's very possible that we have these big visions, these new perspectives, that we have perhaps new dreams, new ideas, perhaps even a whole new venture. And then June 7th comes in, Moon and Pluto align at 0 degrees in Aquarius. Aquarius is associated with Uranus energy, which is change. Pluto is about death and rebirth. So then come June 7th, we might then be faced on what is it that's going to have to be let go in order for some of these changes to come to life. Whenever there's a new beginning, there is an ending. And I think that we're going to get a sneak peek on June 7th on some of the things that are going to have to be let go. And it will be in opposition to Venus in Leo and Jupiter in the North Node in Taurus. This to me looks like kind of an egoic death. And I know that that sounds really scary, and it can be, but basically it's a way of us to step out of our current identity and reinvent ourselves. So that's a nice way to reframe it. An egoic death is a reinvention of oneself. So some of these parameters that we've put on ourselves might be due to how we perceive ourselves and what roles we've taken within our relationships and our careers and our families and so on and so forth. This moon is giving us an ability to step out of those parameters and to not just look at what external circumstances may or may not be working, but also what kind of identity and what kind of beliefs do I have about myself that are helpful, which ones are not, and what part of my identity is due for an upgrade. So it's good, but we might end up being rather emotional on that day. So just know that on June 7th, be compassionate, be kind to yourself, try to be as compassionate and kind with others as well, because this alignment is going to affect us all. And so if you're feeling like you need some rest, rest. Be kind and be gentle to yourself, especially on June 7th. So let's take a look below now and see what the tarot has to say. All right, so join me in setting the intention that whatever part of this tarot reading is most pertinent to you and whatever situations you are experiencing in your life, that the part that is most relevant to you will be highlighted. You're just going to know. You're going to be like, oh yeah, that part's for me. All right. And I ask our divine highest selves, how might we best utilize this strawberry full moon on June 3rd/June 4th, full moon in Sagittarius. All right. Okay, so two cards came out together, and when cards come out together, I always look at it as like basically one card, that these energies are more meshed together than they are when they come up separately. And the two cards that come up is the Two of Cups reversed, and then we have the Eight of Swords. Eight of Swords is about self-imposed prisons. So it's exactly what we were just talking about, how how certain factors in our life that are no longer needed, it's time for them to be shed. And we might be resistant to letting those things go based on whatever belief. It's some sort of belief that we still need these things, or that we need these beliefs, or we need something. And so there's some limiting beliefs. There are some boxes that we have put ourselves in. What's really interesting about the person in this card is she's actually holding on to her ropes. She could just let them go, take off the blindfold, and walk through the Cage of Swords. She just walk right through them. But she doesn't know that. She's still holding on. She's holding on to, and that rope, I just kind of wonder, like, because she's by the sea, right? I just kind of wonder if that rope is like, at one point in time, might have been something that helped like pull her out of the sea, and now it's actually become her prison. So just because something was useful at one point does not mean that it's still useful now. And this is in connection to relationships. So not just intimate relationships, but relationships of all kinds. So the cards are saying take a look especially at your relationships, because our relationships are also reflecting how we relate to ourselves. So if we're confused as to what to do, then not only will Mercury and Uranus in conjunction help with that insight, but if we start asking, what do I need to change within so that the reflection of my relationship with myself is actually reflected more helpful in my external relationships, we will get to where we're going. But that's hard work to do, right? It's hard to take radical responsibility, and that's what the cards are inviting us to do. That they're saying that energy and that courage to do that and to go there and look at ourselves in the mirror in that way will pay off in dividends. So there's also, in regards to that, there's going to be some shift with how we relate to money. So Four of Pentacles reversed is about hoarding. This doesn't necessarily mean that only those of us who have an excess of wealth are going to be affected. Hoarding can also happen. Hoarding is essentially a lack mindset, regardless of if a person has a lot to hoard or not. Hoarding is more, and on a psychological level, is really about being scared that there won't be enough. So some of us are nervous about our financial future, and it's going to be okay. There is going to be some shift and some upheaval, and that is brought to us by the Tower card. The Tower card, however, is it's kind of known as the wrecking ball in the deck, but what is being said is when it comes up with, when I ask for clarity on the Tower card, the High Priestess reverse comes up, meaning that the Tower card is actually more about us not listening to our inner knowing and our inner voice than anything else. And that this wrecking ball, so to speak, the Tower card, is coming in. This would be Pluto, by the way. This is a very Pluto kind of energy, is coming in and is going to require that we use our power of discernment to make good choices for ourselves. There is a chance that this energy here might put us in such a place that we are so uncomfortable that we just want to just race off and do something. The Prince of Wands is like, let's just do something. And that is coming from a place of, again, the Star card reversed is saying, like, that's really coming from a place of fear and perceived disappointment. So the card that comes before this, ironically, is the Tower card. And when something is reversed, the card that comes before it in the deck is oftentimes thought about as being the remedy. So the card that comes before this is the Tower. So it's saying that actually the Tower is more like breaking open a doorway to rebirth, renewal, and regeneration. But depending on how we look at it, we might perceive that as, oh my God, everything is burning down. It's not burning down, it's breaking open. So if there's something that comes up that's really uncomfortable, that is scary, loss of job or some sort of news that comes through that you're not liking, and this could be either personal or on a global scale. What it's saying is, I wanted some information on the Star card and to see, like, what more can we know or do to reconnect us more with the rejuvenation aspects of this card. And what's coming up around that is release past wounds. The fear is coming from the past, and a lot of this defining of oneself is actually more about we are defining ourselves now based on our experiences of the past. And what the cards and the astrology are saying is that our past, well, first of all, our past never defines our future. However, especially now, because of how much change is underway. So the rules that framed your life in the past are not the rules that are going to give you structure in the future. It's time to write a new rule book. And so it's time to heal the past, heal the wounds, any sense of betrayal, disappointment, fear, lack of trust issues are coming up really big around this reading, anything of that nature. Those are the things to heal and use our own will, determination, as well as very clear boundaries on our energy and our time are two things that will really help us be able to take the Tower card and not look at it as just complete annihilation, but look at it as a way to rebuild something that is new and something that perhaps is actually even going to be more worthwhile for the long term. When the tower falls, you have everything you need in order to build whatever you want. You can build a new tower, you can build a castle, you can build a hobbit hole, you can build whatever you want. And that's really what this Sagittarius energy is coming in to say. I feel like this Sagittarius energy is here to say that, yeah, you know, some of these shifts and changes that are going to happen over the next year, they might be a little uncomfortable. But Sagittarius is an explorer, and it's luck, and it's about adventure and playfulness. So if we can just lean into the playfulness just a bit and detach from the fear, we might actually get the insight of what possibilities are actually broken open so that we can make a breakthrough. All right, guys. Whew. I felt like a big one. So we have the Sagittarius moon, we got Jupiter conjuncting the North Node. I mean, it's big energy. So many blessings to all of you, and I look forward to seeing you back here in a couple of weeks. We're going to take a look at the new moon. Bye-bye.